Hello, welcome. Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today in Unit 16, India, let us discuss privatization. Privatization in infrastructure sector began with the amendment of relevant legislature to permit private enterprises to enter power generation in October 1991. But not much headway was created in this sector even after a decade and a half, whereas the reforms have been much successful in telecommunications sector. Value added services were opened to private sectors in 1992, followed by the initiation of national telecom policy in 1994 to 1995, which opened up basic telecom services to competition. Foreign equity participation up to 49% was permitted in case of a joint venture between the Indian and the foreign firm. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India (TRAI) was established in 1997 in order to separate the service providing function of publicly owned telecom enterprises and policy making function, both of which were initially with the Department of Telecommunications. A separate Department of Telecom Services was set up in 1999 to 2000. The two public sector service providers were corporatized in 2000 to 2001. International long distance business, which was a public sector monopoly, was opened to unrestricted entry in 2002 to 2003. The Universal Service Support Policy came into effect in April 1, 2002, under which an universal service levy at 5% of adjusted gross revenue of all telecom carriers has been fixed. The Universal Service Fund, financed by the levy, subsidized access to public and community phones in villages as well as individual household phones in net high-cost rural remote areas. The two basic goals of reforms are delivering low-cost voice telephony to the larger possible number of individuals and delivering low-cost high-speed computer networking to the largest number of firms. Road sector is another field of infrastructure reforms. A key reform was the creation of a major new source of funding for national, state and rural road construction, called by the Central Road Fund. Under the Central Road Fund Act of 2000, the National Highway Development Project, financed by the CRF, is one of the largest single highway projects in the world. It includes the nearly 6,000 km of golden quadrilateral connecting the four metropolis cities of Chennai, Delhi, Kolkata and Mumbai, and 7,300 km of north-south and east-west corridor. Indian Railways have undertaken several reforms to improve their functioning. The government has approved restructuring of four metro airports, Chennai, Delhi, Kolkata and Mumbai, to make them world class, and approval in principle has been granted for setting up new international airports in Bangalore, Hyderabad and Goa with private sector participation. Now let us start the next topic, impact of reforms in economic and social sector. It is a decade and a half since India adopted the new economic policy and moved toward the path of liberalization of economy. A drastic policy shift from that of mixed economy The policy followed till 1990 will definitely show its impact both in the economy and social front. Let us take stock of these impacts here. It needs to be stressed here that all these macroeconomic indicators cannot be attributed to reform programs only. If we look at the positive impact of the economic front, we can see that after a dip in the GDP growth rate along with a sharp absolute decline in aggregate investment during 1991 and 92, there was a spurt in GDP growth from 1992 to 1993 onward. In the first half of the financial year 2005-2006, the economy grew by 8.1% compared to 7.1% in the corresponding period in the previous year. Indeed, not only were growth rates of GDP per capita income and capital accumulation higher in 1992 to 2001 than the corresponding average in the 70s and the 80s. There was also a considerable fall in poverty ratio from 36% to 26% between 1993 to 1994 and 1999 to 2000. The performance of the economy was quite remarkable in the external sector. There was considerable improvement in balance of payments, increase in the foreign exchange reserves, a sharp decline in short-term debts as percentage of foreign forex reserve, etc. The economy also become much more open since economic reforms and there was a rise in countries' share of export in world trade from below 0.5% to nearly 0.6% in over a period of one decade. Following are some of the major accomplishments of the financial reforms. Domestic deregulation of industry, dismantling the system of industrial licensing and production controls which enhanced domestic competition, liberalization of trade and significant drop in tariff rates, liberalization of financial sector. Along with these positive growth tendencies, there also had been some negative trends. After managing a rapid recovery, Indian economy lost its growth momentum within a few years of inception of economic reforms. The average GDP and per capita income growth during 1997 to 2001 was significantly lower than in 1992 to 1995-7. The second and no less disturbing development during the 1990s was extremely low growth of overall employment, belying the expectation that the reforms program, through stimulation of labor-intensive activities, would help harnessing in growth process the country's huge untapped human resources. As the latest economic survey reveals, between the period 1983 to 1994 and 1994 to 2000, the average annual growth rate of total employment recorded a steep fall from 2.04% to 0.98%. Financial sector reforms have been much more comprehensive than reforms in other sectors. However, this sector also had displayed quite a few negative developments. The most important of these are decline in bank credit to the commercial sector and increasing bank holding of SLR securities far in excess of the stipulated minimum, and failure of the capital market, especially during 1995 to 2000, to provide finance for domestic capital formation. Another impact of the opening up of the Indian economy was that it was being subjected to external shocks to a greater extent than in 1980s or before. The social sector to globalization features both negative positive tendencies. Unemployment due to the replacement of the traditional technology by modern technology has made its negative impact, whereas availability of new opportunities in the employment market has made its positive impact. Study of Seva Academy on the impact of globalization on informal sector shows that globalization of Indian economy has both positive and negative effect on the informal sector. For example, introduction of the machinery in construction sector has resulted in decrease in labor demand in urban areas and increase in rural areas, as rural areas are also going for houses made of cement and bricks rather than mud. On the other hand, increased demands of embroidered work in global market has increased the work for embroidery workers. On the other hand, government workers have undergone the positive as well as the negative effect of globalization. Increase in demand for garments has increased the work in government sector, but continuous change in the fashion world has demanded a continuous upgrading of work quality, which is found to be difficult with workers in informal sector. Even the small and marginal farmers have gained from globalization as they are able to cultivate their land thrice in a year. With the advancement of technology, but excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides have decreased the overall profit of the farmers. Due to the liberalization and globalization, advanced technology, instruments and medicines in the field of medical science are available even in our country. Thus, with the help of telemedicine, today specialized doctor of USA and Germany can assist the ongoing operations in India. Also, India is now producing advanced equipment required for operation. This was effectively reduced the cost price of item needed during operation. After the government of India lifted price control over drugs, tough competition has been found among the drug manufacturers. As a result, the cost of some drugs has been reduced. Despite these positive aspects, there are some negative aspects of globalization in the health sector. For example, some essential and life-saving drugs have become expensive due to the removal of price control, and also many more duplicate drugs are available in the market than before. Other than this, today new high-order antibiotics are prescribed for minor conditions like cold and cough. This has in turn resulted in drug resistance. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.